Welcome back to the Washington University Coaches Show from Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. It is Tuesday night, and if you're with us at Haywood's, thank you so much for joining us on the Bear Country Sports Network. If you're listening on Saturday, we are getting you ready for Lock Haven University football on the road at Shippensburg, about 45 minutes from kickoff. Terry Byram with the call on the Bear Country Sports Network. Joined right now by Lock Haven University head football coach Dave Taynor, coming off week 4 of action, first home game, homecoming, Gridiron great honored, a lot going on. Lock Haven also offensively, a strong yardage output, 368 yards offensively. Coach, closer to what you're looking for from a yardage standpoint, what did you do well to gobble up yards against a challenging Westchester defense?
Well, I think we've made some progress over the past 3 weeks in growth, and as we've transitioned our offense a little bit under a different quarterback over the last couple of weeks. And Jimmy Strickland, I thought, did a good job of staying on process mostly for the game. He did a good job of putting the ball into positions in which we had opportunities to make plays. Some of our guys went out and made some of those plays, and it led to us doing well. And I always kind of look at yards per play. Kind of got us up into the area in which we would expect to be. I think we were 5.7 yards a play in the game. Want to continue to build upon that. We ran the ball pretty well when we went against their 5-man box and blocked 5-on-5 during that time. We averaged over 8 yards a carry. Had good outputs by Ralph Highland, John Ford, and then Chance Sports got in at the end and did some things well too. I think averaged over 10 yards a carry. We were also able to push the ball down the field. Had a couple big vertical pass plays, one by Elliott Walker and one by Kaif Williams that led to good opportunities. The thing that we got to work on the most, though, is we've got to finish drives. There were 6 opportunities out of the 10 series that we had in the game that we had opportunities to score points. We only scored on 2 of those 6. 2 of them we had a missed field goal and a blocked field goal, and 2 of them that we ended up not finishing the drive. We had a drop down inside of the 5-yard line, and the other one we missed an open receiver on 4th down. So we need to finish more drives. If we're able to do that, we'll continue to grow as an offense.
You covered about my next 5 or 6 questions all at once there. Let's take it one at a time. Jimmy Strickland, the starting quarterback, going forward, it appears. Kyle Knight did get the start, but Strickland, the majority of the reps on Saturday. What does he do well within his skill set?
Well, Jimmy earned the starting position going into the Slippery Rock week. And then sprained his ankle during the first series. We still plan on using Kyle Knight as a part of our offense, and it's a team offense, and he brings some very valuable commodities. Has a strong arm and has the ability to run. He's a young guy that's learning the game. So Jimmy didn't practice most of the week last week. Was able to practice on Thursday with the sprained ankle, so he didn't have quite as many reps during the week. So we started Kyle Knight, and I think Jimmy has the ability to make some plays off schedule. He did that. A couple in particular that turned the chains over in some crucial situations, and one that got us out of a potential jam. So he was able to move the pocket. He throws a good deep ball. He can push the ball down the field, and the more reps he gets, the better he's going to be at processing the game. And he did a pretty darn good job on Saturday's processing the game.
You mentioned Ralph Highland as well. Missed some time early in the year due to injury. His strongest output of the year. How does he look to you?
No, I think we have in our backfield, we have some very capable runners. He got the hot hand and just happened to be in on the series in which, because a lot of what we're doing is predicated off of what they put inside the box, whether we're going to run it or we're going to throw it. And he just happened to be in times where the box was lightened up a little bit, and he took full advantage of it. It's good to see him to have the burst that was maybe missing last week with him being there, but he was making progress. I think this was the first week in which he was completely healthy, and we're continuing to get the backfield healthy, and we're going to need to rely upon him down the stretch.
Another point you mentioned in that first response, the offensive line. What have they given you week to week?
Our offensive line has really been the strength of our offense and has been the reason why we've been able to continue to progress from the start of the year up until now. And we're starting to get some of the skilled players in the mode of going out and competing and making plays, and they'll continue to grow to do that. But our O-line has been able to control the line of scrimmage in just about every one of our games, as far as, allowing us to at least control some game tempo and pace. So been very happy with that group. Obviously it's a upper class group. I mean, we have 4 guys on that group that are seniors, so we expect continued good things from them.
With Lock Haven University head football coach Dave Taynor on the LHU Coaches Show, live every Tuesday night from Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. You mentioned finishing drives. Challenge on Saturday against Westchester. What needs to be better in order to turn impressive drives into impressive touchdown drives?
Well, it's a matter of when the field shrinks down, those one-on-one matchups become very important. When you have a whole field to defend, if you hand the ball off on offense, the quarterback hands it off and there's a ball carrier that carries it, that means there's 2 guys on the defense that are not being blocked. Those 2 guys are closer to the line of scrimmage and more in the mix the closer you get to the goal line. So you have to be able to take advantage of one-on-one matchups. The last touchdown by Kaif Williams, he went up in traffic and caught the ball, came down with it, and put it in the end zone. We need to continue to build upon those type of things, and guys need to make some one-on-one plays, and that comes with reps. The reality is, when you look out on the receiving corps, while we have some talented youth that is out there, we're very green in that group. There's really, Kasim Bowie's the only one that had a close to 100-yard game prior to, and he's out right now with a concussion. So we're young in that group. So there's some guys that can make some plays, and I think some very good future playmakers, and we just need to make the future now.
Defensively, one of the genuine rays of sunshine, Carlos Balcom, 2 interceptions. What has this secondary been able to do to produce and create turnovers?
Well, when I was just talking about the receiving corps, they're the opposite of that to a certain degree. They are very experienced. So you have Carlos Balcom, who's got 3 years underneath his belt. You got an Isaiah Flamer who's got 2 full years of playing underneath his belt prior to this year. You got Daniel Strawbridge. You have 2 all-conference returning players that are in that group. And then you had a couple young guys that got considerable reps last year. So you have some talent that's back there, and and they're doing a good job of making those plays. Jokingly, at the start of the year with Carlos, it was one of the things that we kind of joked about, is that Carlos Balcom last year could have been probably in the top 2 or 3 in the country if he had caught all the opportunities that he had at picks. So now you flash forward to this year, and he's making more of those plays on the ball where he's actually coming down with it. So, it's a process of reps and experience, and he's a very talented young man along with the other guys that are in our secondary. So, and they've had the opportunity to go and make plays on game days.
Before we move forward in our next segment to Shippensburg, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Gridiron Greats, the recognition of Lock Haven football alumni, including your own defensive assistant and defensive line coach, Terry Such. What does it mean as a means of connecting with the alumni to have the Gridiron Greats?
Well, the Gridiron Greats and the banquet and a booster organization for us, the Gray Eagles, really put that together, promoted it, did those things with it. It was a phenomenal opportunity for the Bald Eagles to get together, and the old breed and the new breed to get together and be able to celebrate the successes of the past and really chart a future going forward.
Lock Haven University head football coach Dave Taynor on the LHU Coaches Show. When we come back, we will talk about Week 5 and Team 5, Shippensburg on the road. You're listening to the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network.
Food and fun with friends and family when you go to Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. With a large bar and their big screen TVs, Haywood's is where you
or check them out online at Facebook and Instagram. It's WQB on the Fan.
Welcome back to the Lockhaven University Coaches Show, live every Tuesday night
from Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. Jonathan Schwab with you until 7:30 for those of you listening on Tuesday night, and for those of you on the Bear Country Sports Network listening on Saturday. It's probably about 12:20 or so, and we're about 40 minutes from Lockhaven University football on the road at Shippensburg. Still joined with Lockhaven head football coach Dave Taynor, and Shippensburg is the Week 5 opponent. How early did your coaching staff start taking a look at this Shippensburg unit? Well,
I probably started really looking at them in detail at about 1:30 a.m. on Sunday. By the time I'd gotten the chance to be able to see our game on Saturday, you're always going to take an early peek into it. But obviously, we started up the next morning as far as truly starting to get the preparation going for Team 5.
What do you see when you look at this Shippensburg offense?
They're a talented group. I think they're led by a senior quarterback, or upper-class quarterback that can push the ball down the field and has the ability to keep some plays alive. They have a younger receiver that has stepped forward this year and has become a real true vertical threat. The reality is their quarterback can throw the ball and it can get the ball down the field. That 74-yard touchdown that they had last week, the ball covered, if I did the Pythagorean theorem right, covered about 67 yards as far as in the air. So, I mean, he's got a strong arm, and he'll keep plays alive. So we got to continue to defend the deep ball well.
Defensively, Shippensburg, as impressive a Shippensburg defense in terms of what they've done the last couple weeks as I can remember over the last few years, back-to-back shutouts against Clarion and then East Stroudsburg. What has made them effective?
I think that just as any very good defense will be, their pursuit to the football is probably their number one thing that shows up on film. I had a coach that I worked for and actually had worked here for a while with me, John Mesh, who said you can tell a team's speed if nobody stands out on that field as looking really fast, because they're all fast. Their guys run to the ball well. I think that's the number one thing that they do, and they play a consistent brand of football. I think their consistency and really their persistence has allowed them to take some drives that have went deep on them and shut people out when they get close to the door. So I think they continue to play. So they're definitely going to be a challenge for us this week that we're looking forward to.
What do they bring to the forefront on special teams?
Well, on special teams, they've always been a team that has a very good at returning the football. They block well out in space. They got good team speed. Those things tend to run together. If you have a defense that runs the football well, you're typically going to have special teams that run very well as well. That's something that we got to continue to look at ourselves and improve a couple areas. Our punt team, we've got to have better coverage. We made some improvements from week to week, from the Slippery Rock week to the Westchester week, but we got to continue to improve upon that. We got to focus on every single snap. The early part of the game, we drove down on Westchester, got ourselves into scoring range, and got a field goal blocked, and it was a 10-point swing. You make the field goal, and instead we got it blocked and returned. So we need to make sure that we're playing good complementary football, and we're doing things on special teams and locked in and keyed in on every single rep.
When you talk about improving the punt coverage, what makes punt coverage effective?
Well, two things that we've got to do a better job of. We got to do a better job of getting a little bit more hang time on our kicks. And then number two, we've got to make sure that we're kicking and we're getting the ball to the area of the field that's designed for it to be in. You go 2 weeks ago, we weren't going to kick to number 9 from Slippery Rock at all, and we managed not only to not kick the ball out of bounds, but to, for lack of a better term, shank it right to them. And that wasn't necessarily the goal going into that situation. So, we've got to do a better job of paying attention to the details when it comes down to coverage.
Joined by Lockhaven University head football coach Dave Taynor on the LHU Coaches Show, live from Haywood's on the Green. You talk all the time about we have to make our opponents do the things they don't want to do. So what are the things you have to do against Shippensburg to make them uncomfortable?
Well, I mean, I think if you look back, and I went back basically through their last 3 seasons, the teams, as far as just statistically looking at the teams that have had some success and have either had success or have beaten Team 5 throughout the last 3 years, have been able to run the ball effectively against them. If you look at it in this season, their closest game was against Gannon, and Gannon was able to run the ball for over 200 yards. What they do defensively is they find ways to get extra guys into the box in order to defend the run. You have to do a good job of understanding where those guys are from and how you can use their aggressiveness against them in order to keep them from being so aggressive and getting in and getting the extra fits in. So, we've got to be pretty consistent in what we do, and we got to stick to the run. Last year, one of the things that when I look back at the game that I felt like we didn't do that could have really helped us was make a consistent effort to stay within the run game. We had a lot of success throwing the ball. We had over 500 yards of offense in the game. We didn't score the points that we needed to because we turned the ball over, but the reality is too we didn't really control the tempo and the physicality of the game because we went to the air as much as we did. So we need to be able to run the ball physically, and we need to be able to throw the ball effectively and efficiently.
Hour 1 for fun with LHU head football coach Dave Taynor. Coach, you talk about toughness and fighting through pain, and you were a lineman, so I'm sure without even talking to you about this before we started recording that you have played through some discomfort back in your collegiate career at Urbana. What was the worst injury you played through during your football career?
Well, I had a torn MCL and medial cartilage tear, bucket handle tear in my cartilage that I played 7 games on my junior year, then had surgery at the end of the season. So that was probably the most consistent and difficult. And there's all kinds of minor nicks and bruises that you have and you play through, but that's probably the most substantial injury.
What's it like playing on a torn MCL?
Yeah, I mean it's not comfortable, but I mean you do what you got to do sometimes.
For those of you listening on the radio who can't see his reaction, he just looked at me and shrugged. So I suppose it is what it is.
It is what it is. I didn't want to sit out. It was past the time of the year that I could have taken a medical red shirt, so I wasn't going to miss the games.
Lock Haven University head football coach Dave Taynor, thank you so much for the time, and good luck at Shippensburg.
Thank you very much.
That'll do it for this week's edition of the Lock Haven University Coaches Show. Thank you to both Coach Taynor and to Kathy Brown as well. For those of you at Haywood's on this Tuesday night, we appreciate you coming out and participating. For those of you listening on the Bear Country Sports Network, Terry Byram will have the call, 12:30 pregame, 1 p.m. kickoff from Shippensburg, Lock Haven, at Shippensburg LHU football on the Bear Country Sports Network. For our entire Bear Country Sports Network crew, I'm Jonathan Schwab, and this has been the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network.